We are live. We are live. Welcome to Sunday edition of College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this Rebel Outpost College Football YouTube channel with a donation. Just hit the $ when you make a comment, and then we'll get you super chat as quick as possible. Welcome into the studio. Welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show Sunday. Oh, I know. People are watching. What are you watching? College basketball? You watching golf? Maybe some NASCAR? But this studio, me, the fat guy from Minnesota, we're always talking about college football. And today, finally, PATC is releasing its rankings for the quarterbacks for the 2024 season in the Big 12. So what's going to happen is I'm probably going to get everybody upset. Every Big 12 fan base except for one. The quarterback I have rated number 1 going into the 2024 season. So I'm pretty much everybody. I am going to get very upset this afternoon, but that's what happens. That's what happens when you talk college football. We're also going to be going over the latest steam that we're picking up on the college football expanded playoffs for 2026. Information that we have received from, let's just say, a Big Ten source, not the University of Minnesota, but a Big Ten source giving us what they believe could be the scenario coming out of all this. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting scenario. And he also told, this person also told us that he thought this steam would be reported here early in the next week. So whatever we say here, Peek Around the Corner today on a Sunday live show, keep your head on a swivel. Keep your ears and eyes wide open, because this scenario might be talked about early or sometime next week. Let me thank everybody who's come on into the chat at the start of the show. Then we're going to go into our highly controversial Big 12 quarterback rankings for 2024. We've done the ACC. We've done the SEC. Now we're doing the Big 12, and hopefully in the next week or so, depending on what is going, if things are still going crazy in the college football world, we're going to get to the Big 10 rankings as soon as possible. Now, we rank the Big 12 quarterbacks. The same criteria as we did the ACC and the SEC. This is how I believe my projections on how well the quarterbacks, if you were to rank the quarterbacks' performances, the positive impact on the teams that they play for, how you would rank them by the end of the year. So we're not ranking them based upon how talented they are, how great they've been, or how great they will be. It's the 2024 season. We're ranking them what we believe to say, okay, by the end of the season, this is going to be all Big 12 quarterback, number one quarterback in the conference. And number 16 is going to be one who's going to be at the bottom of what happens in the 2024 season. But let me first get to everybody who's come on early in this show. Ryan Brooks, Kyle Visser, early peak member. Ryan Brooks, early peak member. Nathan Campbell, early peak member. Richard L., the Colorado Buffalo, he's in the house, early peak member. Randy Taylor, Morales. Hi, Greg. Hi, everyone. Let's go. Bill G. Greetings, Flugarians. Heartbreak is in the house, and he's not afraid. Heartbreak 25 is not afraid. Mr. Hawkeye, Immaculate, Sunday. John Evans is in the house. Flugar Fix, PNWUTE is in the house. Jeff Watson, Avery Johnson, period. Great things coming this year for the Manhattan, Kansas Big 12 title game appearance, and maybe more. Where do I have Mr. Avery Johnson? We shall see. We shall see. As Morales says, smash the like button. Clinton Moses is in the house. David Hackett. John Teal. I needed a show today. I'm glad we can give you one. I know Sunday is not the best day to put on a college football YouTube channel. I don't care. I want to talk college football. I'm glad you all joined us. I'm glad somebody joined us today. If I get one person in the chat room we are ready to go. So I do appreciate it. Justin Lucas is in this. No, there's not going to be a Pac-2 quarterback preview. There's going to be the rest. The G5 and Washington State and Oregon State, we are going to do a quarterback preview among those schools. Garrett Green or the Arizona kid, number one? Bad cop, worst cop. Holy smoke, Scott Schrader is in the house. John Dry is in the house. Kenneth Evans. Have to think Baylor, Cincinnati, BYU, and Houston are at the bottom. Not exactly. No. Nope. I don't have those four at the bottom. Well, I have one of them at the bottom. And I have another one close to the bottom. Bottom four. Two of those four are the bottom four. The other two, Nope. Razor Buck. Buck is in the house. N.E. Cam Rising should be number one. He should be. But then I would put Sanders or Avery at number two. Jonathan Price, what's up? Jalen Daniels, turnaround Kansas, top spot. That's what Clint Moses believes. Steve-O, hello Greg, hello to Steve-O. Kevin Long is in the house. Okay, Shador, Richard L. We'll see. Immaculate, I don't know what you're talking about. Sunday is a great day for a college football show. There it is. There it is from the Hawkeyes. So we're going to go through it right now. Let's do, hopefully I don't screw this up. I seem to always screw this up. I don't know why. Other than the fat guy from Minnesota isn't very bright. PATC Chalk Talk. The 2024 Big 12 quarterback rankings. We're going to go from 16, 15, 14, 13, all the way down to number one. And I put a couple comments in for each quarterback. Again, I'm basing this on how I believe where we, PATC, is going to feel about every quarterback here, who did the best, who did the worst among the 16 projected starting quarterbacks of the Big 12. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it. Number 16 on the list, Jake Retzlaff, BYU. He's in a quarterback one battle with transfer quarterback Jerry Mohanan, which we've been hearing about for years, used to be with Baylor, and Cade Finnegan. Retzlaff was a transfer. JUCO, River City College. Number 16. And I think Bohannon might get the quarterback one. We shall see. But I think most people would have this gentleman listed at number 16. And again, he could surprise us. He could be in the middle of the Big 12 by the end of the season. But that's who I have at number 16. Number 15, Jaden Rashada. How could I have Arizona? How could I have this guy at number 15? Well, he was a number 6 rated quarterback in 2023 high school class. But guys, now look, he could end up being a superstar this year. Now, these rankings are for this year, 2024. Remember what I said. This isn't about who's going to be the best college, who's going to have the best college football careers. Only 2024 season I'm talking about. He missed 9 games due to injury. He comes out of the chute, goes to Florida, controversy, goes back to his home state, Arizona State, Jaden Rashada, and then he gets injured. Arizona State, I think, is going to have a very difficult year. That's not going to help Rashada in 2024. Arizona State, I think, is going to be near the bottom of the conference. Again, if I'm ranking quarterbacks when it comes to the total college football career, Rashada would be nowhere near 15 out of the 16 names here on the list. But this is for 2024. I think he's going to have a decent, true freshman season because basically it's his true freshman season. He got injured, and that was a tough break for the young man. We'll see how it goes for 2024. Number 14, Josh Hoover, TCU. He passed for 4 straight games last year. He was not QB number 1 at the beginning of the year. He did not start QB 1, Chandler Morris, but he had 4 straight games over 300 yards. Again, I think he's going to have a better year than Rashada. And Retzlaff, the BYU quarterback. I've got him at number 14, but I couldn't quite put him ahead of Donovan Smith of Houston. New head coach Willie Fritz. It's going to be different now. It's going to be different at Houston. Donovan Smith, Dana Holgerson was his head coach last year when he transferred Red Raider to become a Cougar. Donovan Smith, he's got a lot of talent, but he makes a whole lot of mistakes. 13 interceptions in 2023. He's going to have to clean that up. He's going to have, I don't know what type of, Willie Fritz, and he brought in a new offensive coordinator. They keep talking about how different it's going to be than Dana Holgerson's offense. A year of adjustment. Donovan Smith, I could not put him any higher than number 13. And I should have possibly put him at number 14. Number 12. PATC's Big 12 quarterback rankings for 2024. Alan Bowman, Oklahoma State. Now, I've been scratching my head. They got Ollie Gordon in the backfield. They won a whole bunch of games last year. Second half this season, the Cowboys were on fire. But Oklahoma State's win total in Vegas is only 7.5. I believe that people's perception of Alan Bowman is he's hit his ceiling. He's going into his 7th year. He's battled injuries in college football. And he also threw 14 interceptions last year. Donovan Smith threw a bunch of them. Alan Bowman threw a bunch of them. And that's what keeps them down in the back half of the rankings for the Big 12 quarterbacks. He's going to make some plays. Hopefully he doesn't get necked up and injured, but that has to be part of the equation when we're ranking these quarterbacks. What are they going to do for 2024? So we couldn't put Bowman any higher than number 12. Number 11. Brendan Morton. Mr. Morton, Texas Tech Red Raider. He showed something last year. He was a number 11 ranked quarterback in the 2021 high school class. He's finally getting an opportunity to play. He passed for 3 TDs in the Independence Bowl win. The Red Raider fans, he's got promise. And this is, I think he's got more promise for 2024 than a Bowman, than a Donovan Smith. So we got to put him at number 11. Number 10. Now this is going to be highly controversial. A lot of people, a lot of Big 12 fans, maybe everybody in the chat would have this next one be ranked 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. They would not have him ranked as high as number 10. But I'm going to tell you something. You would be wrong. You would be wrong. Number 10, Brendan Sorsby. I got the wrong. He's a transfer from Indiana. That should read Cincinnati. Cincinnati Bearcats, Brendan Sorsby, 1,587 yards passing. Another 276 rushing yards. And this Indiana Hoosiers offense was so depleted by the middle at the end of the season when Sorsby was finally getting a chance to play as a redshirt freshman. Sorsby looked fantastic. And that's why Cincinnati went and grabbed him. As soon as he hit the portal, they were attacking. Sorsby's going to surprise a lot of people in Big 12 country. I could not rank him any lower than number 10. KJ Jefferson, UCF. Now, is KJ going to bounce back a little bit? Is there some room for growth? I don't know. I honestly don't know. He had played 44 games at Arkansas. 7,911 yards passing, 1,876 rushing yards. Gus Malzone, he's going to love the experience that KJ Jefferson brings in. Should he be ranked higher than 9? Should be 7, 6, 5? I don't know. Arkansas had a lot of issues last year. A lot of issues on the offensive side of the line. A lot of issues on the O-line. Maybe this is a little bit low. Maybe I should have ranked Jefferson higher, but we got him at number 9. Number 8, PATC's quarterback rankings for the Big 12 for the 2024 Dequan Finn. Baylor. Now, somebody in the chat said should have Finn at the bottom, somewhere near the bottom. I put Baylor once again. Baylor Bears, number 8. Dynamic runner at Toledo. Dynamic runner at Toledo. However, last year he wasn't just a dynamic runner. He elevated his play with his arm. 63.4% pass and completion percentage with an 8.4 yards per pass attempt. Both of those statistics going hand in hand, and they were his highest numbers ever as a college quarterback for Toledo. I don't think at the end of the year, I don't think Big 12 fans are going to be saying Finn, he was one of the worst Big 12 quarterbacks. I don't believe it. Dequan Finn, number 8, the Baylor Bears. It's going to be fascinating to see how he plays in Big 12 football. So I got a couple transfer guys doing good. I got KJ Jefferson, number 9. I got Sorsby, number 10. I got Finn, number 8. Number 7, Rocco Bet, Iowa State. I keep talking about J.J. Cole being the promising star eventually for the Iowa State Cyclones, but Rocco isn't going to give up his starting job. 3,120 passing yards, 23 passing TDs. I couldn't rank him any lower than number 7. I could not, no way could I rank him lower than number 7, maybe higher, but he's done it. He's done it in the Big 12. Very good year last year, number 6. Now, this could be very controversial in the chat room. It's a good deal that I'm stuck here up in North Minnesota, so you guys can't break into the studio. Number 6, Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson. Again, this is about 2024. Not who was going to be the best. I got Rashad at 15. I got Avery Johnson, number 6. Now, Johnson showed me something. He showed everybody something. Impressive in the Pop-Tart Bowl win. Rashad was injured last 9 games. Avery Johnson was impressive. Number 9 ranked quarterback in the 2023 high school class. He's got it all. He could be number 1 on this list by the end of the year. That's what the Kansas State Wildcat fans believe. That's what they're hoping for, believing in, and he could very well be. But I could not put him in the top 5. As much as I tried, I couldn't put him in the top 5. I definitely couldn't put him in the top 4. The top 4 in the Big 12 are guys who've done it in the Big 12. And now maybe I could have put him at number 5. Who do I have at number 5? Garrett Green, West Virginia. Kind of the opposite of Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson's ceiling is sky high. Garrett Green's ceiling is not as high as Avery Johnson. But again, this is about 2024. And Garrett Green hit the launching pad last year, and he's going to elevate. It all depends on how high he elevates. 2,400 yards passing, another 772 yards rushing for the West Virginia Mountaineers. He needs to kick up that completion percentage. I think it was around 53, 52 last year. He needs to knock that up to 62, 63 this year. He can whip that ball down the field. He gets a lot of balls knocked down at the line of scrimmage. His measurables kind of affect his ceiling. But I think he's got a couple more levels to him that he can elevate this year. Garrett Green, number 5, West Virginia. Number 4, Shedeur Sanders. He did way too much. He did way too much last year behind a bad offensive line for me to have him ranked outside the top 4. Can't do it. Won't do it. They have brought in some transfers. We'll see how it works on the O-line. 3,200 passing yards, 27 passes. 2023 new offensive coordinator, Pat Schumer. We got to keep an eye on that. Shedeur Sanders, number 4. Number 3, Noah Fafita. Noah Fafita, number 3 and number 2. Number 3 and number 2. Number 3 and number... I kept going back and forth. Back and forth. But you'll see in a second why I gave number 2 to the man that I gave it to. Noah Fafita, Mr. Excitement. He lost his head coach. That's one of the... that might hurt him at the beginning of the season. We shall see. Brett Brennan is the new head coach of the Arizona Wildcats. Freshman season, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Mr. Excitement. He's got his receiver coming back. Great receiver, McMillan. Noah Fafita, number 3. It was either 3 or 2, but I had to put number 2 as Cameron Rising, Utah. Even though he was out all last year, 2022, 3,000 yards passing, 26 touchdowns. He won the Big 12 championship. I'm sorry, he won the Pac-12 championship. He's going into the Big 12 this year. I could not put Cameron Rising. I couldn't put him number 1. He didn't even play last year. But there was no way I could rank him number 3, 4, 5. Cameron Rising has shown us how tough he is. He's a winning quarterback. He's a great leader. Number 2, Cameron Rising of Utah. And of course, that leaves us with another quarterback who basically was out for almost the entire season, basically the entire season. Jalen Daniels, Kansas, Mr. Electricity. Played only 3 games last year, had that back issue. Lost his offensive coordinator. Coltel Nicky to the Penn State Nittany Lions. But Jalen Daniels has a chance, I believe, for the Kansas Jayhawks. Got their running, got a whole lot of guys, got everybody coming back on the offensive side of the field. Daniels is going to put up huge numbers if he stays healthy. And I believe Jalen Daniels is the number 1 quarterback in the Big 12. Jayhawk, Rock Chalk Jayhawk for 2024. There it is. There is the PATC's ranking. Quarterback rankings for 2024. Now you all can tell me how wrong I am. Once again, let's get to your comments. And then we'll get to the big story of today. John Teal, thank you so much for your super chat. Side note, yes, Eric Bieniemy to UCLA, offensive coordinator. That's fire. Absolutely. Eric Bieniemy, associated head coach and the offensive coordinator. Big news out of UCLA. Thank you, John. Thank you for reminding me of that. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate your continued generosity for Peek Around the Corner. Eric Bieniemy. Ooh, Texas friend of mine calls Donovan Smith the human interception. Holy smokes. Rashad's overrated. He should be at 16. Man, oh man. You would be wrong, Greg the Heater. I didn't even know who the Baylor's quarterback is. DeQuan Finn. Great MAC quarterback. Fantastic. Just go check him out. I really like Sorsby. R-Web. Really like him. I couldn't rank him any higher than that. Now Morton is going to surprise you, Greg. Raider Vision. Texas Tech Red Raider. If he can stay healthy. Yeah, we'll see. Morton is going to be good. Jefferson's going to even be better in Malzahn's offense. Going to be interesting. I love doing this early before the spring games. We will reevaluate everything we're talking about now after spring practices, right? Spring games, see who gets injured, see who goes in the portal, all that stuff. We're going to have quarterback battle positions all over college football. Avery Johnson is dynamic, no doubt. Fafita for Tita. Fair reasoning. Thank you, Richard L. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ryzen has to be number 1. Didn't quite get there. You bet, Larry. You bet. Oh, it looks like I'm not getting too much heat. Flugard, did you see my tweet I sent earlier today? I don't know. I get so many tweets and I've been busy on the show. I don't know if I saw it or not. Did you DM me or did you just send it in a tweet? If you really want me to see something, make sure I see something, DM me. And even then, might not see it right away. Can you rank the Big 12 centers? Probably not. The chalk is on Rock Chalk. That's true. He's missed some games. Hmm. Okay. Just taking a look at some of the notes. I sent a tweet, Greg. You just sent it? Movie Time Blues. Did you send me a DM or did you send me a tweet? I'm not seeing anything. Not anything of college football. Okay. See if you can DM me and I'll take a look at it. $2 for number 2. Peek around the corner. Utes Rising. Thank you, PNW Ute. Appreciate it. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you so very much. How good is Aiden Caliac Manis? He's probably going to be ranked at the bottom of my Big Ten rankings or near the bottom. Right at the bottom. Good athlete, good kid, does not process the field very good. But then again, you know, he's going, Kirk Shiraka, he's the one who recruited him. He likes him. So maybe he can get more out of him. He's a decent athlete. Once he gets out of the pocket and heads upfield, he never knows where the first down chain is. Does not bring a whole lot of intangibles, but brings good athleticism. He is an athlete. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. The Greek rifle is not very accurate either. But he's got to, I mean, if you need a ball to be thrown 60 yards, he can throw it 60 yards. And if it finally triggers in his head that he should take the ball and run, he can get up the field real quick. Big, long strides, good athlete. He did not progress at Minnesota without Kirk Shiraka. But Kirk Shiraka is Shiano's offensive coordinator. It's going to be pretty interesting. I expect him to be quarterback 1 for Rutgers, and we'll see what happens. Kenneth Evans, I think Hoover is good. Yeah, Cadillac Manis went in the portal. And the Gophers are replacing him with Max Brosmere, the number 1 FCS quarterback last year. He'll be ranked near the bottom as well in my rankings. Quarterback is a deep position in the Big 12 next year. No question. Okay, so playoffs. College football playoff update. And then I'm going to open up the phone lines if anyone wants to call in. Had a very interesting conversation. And it wasn't just me, it was another person as well. One of my associates with somebody in the Big Ten, an administrator, not University of Minnesota. I'm going to tell you what this person believes where this is going. Let me show you let me show you once again. Pete Thamel. Pete Thamel, you remember when he put out this tweet February 21st? This was 4 days ago. Sources, the idea of a 14-team college football playoff was discussed by the College Football Playoff Management Committee at meetings in Dallas area today. If that happened, it would begin in 2026. Nothing is imminent, but it's significant this idea was discussed. The important part of this tweet, from what we were told, from a Big Ten person and administration of the Big Ten, the most important part of this tweet wasn't even the 14-team college football playoff. It wasn't even nothing is imminent. The important part of this tweet was, if that happened, it would begin in 2026. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, the most important part of whatever the new college football playoffs is going to look like, they wanted to have, they do not, the chance, the odds of the 2026 playoffs being a 12-team playoff, the way it is now, it's basically zero, close to zero. They want something in quick. They want to get it done this month. There's a whole bunch of reasons why that is. The most important thing is to get something done soon. So what they settle on, this is very important. Again, this is coming from a Big Ten administrator. That's about the only way we can say it. As this person is prognosticating, telling us what he believes is about to happen. They're probably not going to settle on what is the most popular, what is the best. They're going to settle on what can be passed. What can everybody in the room say, okay, I'm in. They do not need a unanimous vote. They do not need a unanimous support, but they would like to get a buy-in from everybody, and they got to get this done quick. So the playoff format is going to be the one that can settle everybody's differences quickly. Bam, get it done. So so what this Big Ten administrator told us was the following. If you keep that in mind, what can get done quickly? It's probably going to be Big Ten getting 4 auto bids. The SEC's getting 4 auto bids. The G5 remaining playoff access. But he believes that either in 26, maybe they do 1 year of something else, but in 27, probably 2026, this is quickly going to go to a 16-team playoff. 16-team playoff. Now, 14 is what a whole lot of people would like more than 16. But 16, you can get everybody on board. And he gave us a mountain full of reasons why. So this person that we were talking to has talked to a lot of people about this, has had many conversations. This is, of course, we know this was talked about in January of 2023. this 16-team playoff. Remember in our last live show, we talked about how Gene Smith talked about it. The Max Steinbrecher, the commissioner, talked about it. 16 teams. Oresco says it's going to get to 16 teams. There were a whole bunch of people saying the number is going to become 16 eventually. And that was 13 months ago. Okay, so the 14-team playoff, does it have more traction right now? Maybe, probably. But the 16-team playoff format is coming on strong. One of the many reasons why it is 16 teams is there is a feeling out there that if the SEC and the Big Ten get 4 automatic bids each, their conferences are going to get bigger. They're going to be unbalanced schedules. Not everybody's going to be playing everybody. And the chances, and I can't believe I'm saying this, of the Big Ten and the SEC getting rid of their conference championship game, that actually could happen. You could have 3 teams in the Big Ten, for example, that all go 8-1, but none of them played each other. So then you're going to decide which 2 teams playing what you're going to do is you're going to rank them based upon whatever tie-breaking thing you have, whatever. You can go by the college football rankings, whatever. But they're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4. They're out of bids. Then whatever is left in the Big Ten and the SEC will be, could possibly get a large bid. And whatever that number is out of bids for ACC, it could be 2. For the Big 12, it could be 2. For the P5, it could be 1. That's 11 out of 16. You still have 5 at-large bids. But the point is, that conference championship game becomes, even though they make a lot of money out of it, it just becomes an extra game that doesn't really do anything. Another big thing is 16 games means 8 home games on campus. First week. Couple on Thursday, couple on Friday, 4 of them on Saturday. But the schools that are ranked, like the top 4 ranked conference champions, would still get 1, 2, 3, 4 in the rankings under what this administrator told us. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'd still be to your advantage to be considered your champion, the highest top team in your conference. But those teams would get a home game just as the same. They're getting back the same value in getting into the playoffs as a 5, 6, 7, 8. It's rubbing people the wrong way that a 5, 6, 7, 8 gets all this attention at their home campus, home game. Being able to sell tickets, make money, all that stuff, sponsorship. There is this growing belief that all the top 8 schools should have the same value coming back to them, being the top ranked 8 teams, 4 of them being the conference champions. They get it automatically. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 5, 6, 7, 8 are the next ranked. But you get the same, they all get the same value. Then in round 2, in round 3, which is the semifinals, the quarterfinals and the semifinals, would be your new year 6 bowl games. 4 quarterfinal games, 2 semifinal games. Those are your 6 New Year bowl games. And then your championship game gets rotated around. And that is the growing. It is like the tortoise and the hare. The hare is the 14-team concept. But the tortoise is the 16-team playoff. And this administrator believes that's where they're going to end up. That is where they're going to end up. And are they going to make a whole lot more money? No, but they're going to make a little bit more money. And the SEC and the Big Ten, they're going to get, basically, according to this person, they're going to get their 4 auto bid slots. And then we'll see what happens to the rest of the auto bid slots. There's still going to be 5 at large, probably. So that's, Notre Dame will be in on it. There was a projection. If we would have had according to what I'm being told from this person, if the 12-team playoffs would have been in place by the start of the 14 playoff format, Notre Dame would have made the playoffs 33% of the time. If it would have been a 16-team playoff, they would have made it like 40-some% of the time. In other words, that 16-team playoff with 5 at-large bids, Notre Dame are going to eventually move their chips in with that format. So that is the latest steam on the college football playoffs. And according to the administrator, he believes that we're going to be hearing more about this probably this week. Speed, speed, speed. Pete Thamel, the idea of a 14-team college football playoff was discussed. So 14 may be the chalk right now. If that would happen, it would begin in 2026. They need to decide on a format quickly. Then they need to decide on the playoff distribution quickly. Then they need to decide on the calendar quickly, the playoff calendar. They've got to get all this done in 4 weeks. And to go with a playoff format that everyone's going to buy in quickly might be the thing they settle on, at least according to this administrator. I'm going to open up the phone lines. Hold on 1 second, everybody. And let me have it. Let me have it with my Big 12 rankings. 763-260-1333 if you've come in late in the show. If you come in late in the show, this is what we did. This was our, I'll just go quickly through it once again. This is our Big 12 rankings. Big 12 rankings. PATC Chalk Talk 2024. Number 16, BYU. We'll get back to that later.
Call from
Immaculate.
Immaculate. Mr. Hawkeye, the floor is yours. How's your Sunday doing?
So far, good. So far, so good. We'll be on a little bit later, but I thought I'd give a little quick call-in. I don't got a whole lot to say about the quarterbacks, but, man, this idea you're talking about, if this is really what they're doing, I got to say, for the first time, this is very underwhelming.
Yeah. Now, he's not saying that this is leading the clubhouse by any measure. He just thinks this is what they're going to eventually get to. So
it seems more like a bunch of folks in the room who really don't watch that much football, which is fine. They're the administrators, but they're really just solely focused on money because of everything that's pushing them in the future. And that's all that seems this is, and it kind of feels like they're taking viewership for granted. Like that viewership will always be the same or higher, that it isn't possible for there to be an unintended consequence of some decisions they make for viewership to drop off because it's just gotten stupid. And my number one problem with it is that whole AQ thing where this down the line it's all automatic qualifiers per conference is there's no more reason for ranking. And while some folks might be like, okay, we don't really care if the rankings committee doesn't work anymore at the CFP. I personally don't either. But my thing is there's no rankings throughout the entire year that matter, throughout the entire season. You won't need them. It's just going to be your conference record that matters. Yeah. Like what's your ranked against the rest of everyone? It will have zero meaning. And if you don't have that as a talking point throughout the weeks of the season, I think that they're taking a very big risk on how people will not care. I think they will care. And I think that it'll have less juice. It'll have less pull. People are just going to look at this and go, who cares? Don't even follow the regular season. Just wait till the end, and we'll see where everyone's at. Like, there's less reason to pay attention. And for people who used to always say, we have to do whatever we can to make sure the regular season has value, it's like everything going on with the NCAA, with House versus NCAA, with the employee stats, all this has made them lose that. They've lost track of that. Now I think they're going to hurt themselves.
And you've heard public reports on this, and this person that we were talking to basically says that Tony Petitti wants people to pay attention to the Big Ten, the conference race. You know, he wants 9, 10 teams with 4 weeks to go to have a shot, and they will be mathematically to finish in the top 25% or the quadrant of the Big Ten. He wants people to pay attention to the conference race, not so much about people ranking teams. You're right. The way we used to do it, you know, that juice is being squeezed out of it. You know,
I think they are assuming people will care, and I think that could prove to be very detrimental. Also, I highly question whether this actually comes to an agreement. Now, I know you're saying that for 26 they don't need everyone to agree, but they do need considerable agreement. Otherwise, what I've suggested is more likely what they're going to go do. They're just going to have to break apart and have their own thing, each of them, and then come together for a much smaller thing after that. Whatever people want to come up with that on their own. I don't want to just push one idea.
Yeah.
But this is getting to the point where it's just like, what is this? This is like we've known it's an invitational, but it's had enough of the tradition there where it was acceptable. This, I think you're going to find a lot of people that say this is not acceptable. And as a Big Ten guy, I don't like it that they're going to get so many automatic qualifiers. I don't like that the SEC is going to get so many automatic qualifiers. If we're that good, then let's just earn it. Like, this is dumb.
I get what you're saying, Immaculate. I agree with you. The beat devil's advocate. Yeah. I think there's a lot of probably pressure coming from the media companies. We're paying all this money for all these conference games. SEC going to 9 games. I think Sankey and Petitti really want to put value on these conference games, especially going into November, and that's why the 4 automatic bids. That is the essence. They're trying to pump up the value of more of their conference games.
And I get that from like a number cruncher. Look, these are all the statistics. This is what it tells us. I mean, but there's more context to it than that. There's more nuance. Like, it's like they take viewership for granted, that people will just view forever. You can change it completely into something entirely different, and that no one will care, and they'll just continue to keep watching. But when it becomes to the point where it's unrecognizable to people, they're going to stop watching. And if it's only 20% of the people, that's a lot. That's a huge loss for them. Whatever they thought they would gain by doing this is gone if that viewership drops. And this isn't just talking about like the postseason stuff. I mean, if the networks are pushing this, I got to start questioning some of the people at these networks. Like, do they know what they're doing? Like, everyone seems to have, to some degree, lost their mind because of this change. You know, the NCAA is going to have to change. Employee status is going to have to change. NIL and all the people coming from the past who are now wanting their stake of NIL via House versus NCAA. I just think that they've all kind of lost their minds. If they actually think that this is a viable solution and that they won't lose any viewership at all, you might find out. I think that this is kind of the ridiculous spot that they've come to in that room, where they just found like it's just as hard to get agreement in there as it is in the NCAA. And if that's the case, I think that a lot of these guys are going to say, we might have to do something a bit more on our own and then come together after that for something smaller. Because, I don't know. And I could be wrong, and I could just be my, traditional self looking at this going, okay, this is not really college football.
Now, would you rather have, you don't want any of these choices, but I'm going to give you two choices, Evander. Would you rather have a 14-team playoff, top two conference champions getting a bye, with the SEC getting 4 auto bids, Big Ten getting 4 auto bids, or would you rather have a 16-team playoffs where the SEC gets 4, Big Ten 4, Big 12 2, ACC 2, G5 1, and there's 5 auto bids?
It's like you're asking me, like, which one of these horrible tasting cough medicines do you want to take?
Yeah.
But if I had to choose one, oh, God, that's really bad. 14, can I say that the Big Ten and SEC don't get automatic auto bids? That anyone could get. Now, wink, wink, we know they're still probably going to get it. But I just don't like that they're just coming right out front saying, nope, these conferences are going to get it. I would rather see that be attainable by everybody if you're only going to have 2. I mean, it's a little too in your face. Like, everyone gets it. We all get it. In Big 10, Big 12, everyone gets it that there's that difference. But it's too much in people's face. It's too much. So I guess I'm saying the 14, but man, that only the 2 automatic qualifiers thing, that's going to be a pill to swallow. That I think they're going to be surprised how many people are just not willing to take it.
Okay.
But that's about all on that, man. I'm sitting here listening to you, and I believe you that you've had these conversations, that these people are thinking this stuff, and I'm thinking that's really unfortunate. And I hope that those conversations break down when they get into them to the point where they can at least come out of there and have something a little more.
I think, especially in the backdrop of the ACC imploding, and I think that's going to happen. And I think a lot of people in their room think it's going to happen.
Like a partial or full?
Well, partial. The top brands leaving. Right. In other words, the Big Ten's going to expand, and the SEC's going to expand, and that's going to expand the money coming from their media partners. They really are going to stake their claim on making sure that as many of those that conference title race becomes way more important than the rankings of the committees, and because there's so much money involved. And the Buckeyes are going to want to make sure that at least 4 Big Ten teams get an auto bid. If they're going to bring in another couple top brands, there's a lot of people that need to be satisfied through all of this. I
know, it's just like they're losing track of like that. This is an actual competitive thing, though. Like they're trying to take as much chance out of it as is possible. And that's the budget guys. That's the bean counters saying, from one year to another, having huge fluctuations in how much is coming in. That's really hard to run in an athletic department on, when now we have to pay student athletes. We have to,
they don't want to be Notre Dame. the media partners don't want to be like where they're spending all this money on Notre Dame and they could go pear shape in a season, and there's nothing, there's no safety net. These companies want a safety net.
Like,
yep.
That's who's winning the conversation right now. It's not the folks who enjoy the game, or it's the bean counters in the back who are trying to make everything balanced. Like, they don't want to be in the red so much; they want to be in the black. The accountants, it's lawyers. We have to make the athletic department work, and they don't really know how it's going to be in the future, so they just want to have as much as possible. And by doing that, that's logical. But I think that they've forgotten that they could end up killing the whole goose. And that's what worries me when I see this. Is like it's too much in everyone's face.
Yeah.
I think they're going to find out that not everyone is just going to be happy with, okay, well, I'll just follow your schools instead of mine. And even if that's just a 20% loss in viewership, that's mammoth. So, yeah, that's my worry, is that if this actually goes forward, they may regret it. We'll see. I'm sure you're going to have plenty of other big calls on this. I'm going to hop off here. I just kind of wanted to say, like, that was a little disconcerting to hear, but I do appreciate you bringing what you're hearing to us. So thank you for that.
Got it. Appreciate it, man. Mr. Hot Guy. Beautiful call. I want to get to Movie Time Blues. Movie Time Blues sent me a DM Outkick talking about John Wilner's article last week. Let me pop this up a little bit more. The Big Ten Conference. Okay, hold on.
Call from
Kevin.
Kevin, can you hold on a second?
You bet.
I appreciate it. I'm just going to quickly go through an Outkick article talking about John Wilner's article. The Big Ten Conference could have, let me put this on the screen. Let me pop this up a little bit more so people can actually read it on their phones or tablets or TV. The Big Ten could have quite literally doubled its name total if the conference's presidents had their way. According to a new report from San Jose Mercury News, John Wilner, conference realignment could have been more radically different for the 2024 season. And the Big Ten may have pulled half of the Pac-12 teams. If more television money would have been available, USC, UCLA were already on their way, with Oregon and Washington jumping ship to the Midwestern Conference. Soon after Colorado started the mass Pac-12 exodus. Wilner reported that there was also strong interest in adding Stale in California too, meaning 6 of the former Pac-12 teams would have been in the Big Ten too. Big Ten presidents would have gladly welcomed Stanford and Cal into the conference. Wilner noted academic prestige, Olympic sports in the Bay Area is home to tech giants and to thousands of Big Ten alumni. The timing was poor, as television partners would not pay them for 2024. The Big 20 could have been a thing if their media rights had more value. Well, Stanford and California media rights did not have more value. And that was the problem. California, according to what we were told, we never even had them as a candidate. I know other people did, but we just never got that information here at Peek Around the Corner. The media companies, Fox said no to California and Stanford. Said yes to Oregon and Washington, as we reported. And the media companies are, the Big Ten, proxy of the Fox Sports. The Big Ten wants, the SEC wants their season, all their conference games to mean as much as possible. The SEC starting a new media contract. The SEC is probably going to expand here in the next couple of years. They're going to be adding more conference games. ESPN and Fox wants their conference games to be as valuable as possible. People watching them, watching the conference race. And I think that is the leading reason why, as we've been told by a Big Ten administrator, that's the news that we have for you today. That is why those 4 auto bids for each of the SEC and the Big Ten is probably not very negotiable at this point. Kevin, thank you for your patience. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you doing?
Hey, great. Hey, I heard Immaculate's call. There's some truth to what he's saying, but let's face it, college football changed back during the BCS era, back when I believe BYU won in '84, Colorado and Clemson won. They started wanted more control back then. They wanted some sort of a playoff to eliminate maybe some of these teams from getting a vote when there was no championship game or really a playoff. So I think college football's changed since then. We lost a lot of tradition back then. The bowls changed. When I grew up, you had all the bowl games were on January 1st. You had 4 major bowls and then some others. So I think it has changed. Where Immaculate thinks you'll lose viewership, I don't think you will if you had a 16-team playoff. And the reason why I like the 16-team playoff is every team has to play 4 games. With the 12 and 14, the teams with the bye are going to have to play less games. Sort of like the NFL. If you come up from the back end, you have to play that extra game. I think in college, I'd rather see the 16 than the 12. You'd get more teams involved, which would keep more interest. And I understand what he's saying about losing viewership, but if you still included, let's say you go to the A3, ACC breaks up, you got the Big Ten SEC, and then they include the Big 12 in that A3. If you kept the other conferences there and then gave them a spot for the playoff, I still think it would keep a lot of interest. And where you've got NIL, and you've got maybe they're going to be employees at the colleges eventually, it looks like, the teams with the most money, I mean, it's going to be an unequal playing field, especially for the G5 teams. But you've got that one hope of having a miracle on ice kind of scenario. Maybe you get a G5 team that doesn't get all the money, doesn't have all the players, and you get this G5 team that comes up like miracle on ice, and they just have a great season and win it. I'm not saying that would happen, probably not. But it would make it interesting from that point, and I think keeping a lot of the other G5 teams interested to watch that underdog team come in there and play every year against the money teams, because basically it's about money at this point. And if you got the money to buy players like, remember SMU back in the 80s, they bought Eric Dickerson, they spent money. Now it's going to be a free-for-all, and it's legal. It's not like you can't do it. And that's where we're at today. There's no guardrails on anything. Mm-hmm. But it would be interesting. I still think you keep interest in those G5 teams because they'd still have that shot, just like in the NCAA tournament. You got these teams, San Diego State last year, Florida Atlantic. They got in and made it to the finals. I still think there's a possibility. There's too many great players in the country.
Yeah.
I still think it would be interesting. But I like the 16-team playoff. You get more teams, and everybody plays 4 instead of the bye teams only playing 3, and the back-end teams have to play that extra game.
And, you still have 5 at-large bids.
Yeah, exactly.
So you still have the, you're still following the rankings. You want to get the highest seed possible. And I understand Immaculate's point. It seems too frontal to all the college football fans to say, that 4th place Big Ten team is definitely going to get an out of bid. They might not even be ranked in the top 16 of the country. So I get that. But I think the people who are putting out the big money for this wants assurances. That's what it sounds like.
Well, yeah, it is. And it's the Big Ten. Let's face it, the Big Ten have the most eyeballs. even over some of the SEC teams. And if you're going to do that, then I guess you're going to want Ohio State, Michigan, and some of those teams in every year because they're going to have the most viewership. It won't work out that way, but that's the way it is. Again, I still think if you bring in the G5, all those teams in the back end that think they have no hope, maybe you're a Tulane one year and you get in, or you're a Memphis and get in. Again, you still have that chance. They don't have a prayer in the playoff with the 4, not a prayer. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be much better if they allowed them to do that.
Excellent. Great call, sir.
All right, Greg. You
got it, Kevin. Call again, man.
You bet. See you.
Appreciate it. Now, Kenneth Evans says, as a CFB fan that is not invested in the Big Ten or the SEC, the playoffs become less compelling. Well, if you have a 16-team playoffs, according to what we've been told by this administrator, you would have 2 automatic bids for the Big 12, 2 automatic bids for the ACC, plus you still have 5 at-large bids. So would the regular season of the ACC and the Big 12 be less compelling than it is now? I think what everybody wants to try to make sure is that the regular season is even more compelling, even more dramatic. And people want, supposedly, looking at the races, not so much the rankings. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I did, what is interesting to everybody in the chat, somebody sent me this, somebody sent me this tweet that was put out early today. Oh, now I lost it. Hold on. Josh Pate put out a tweet. Okay, it was around noon, 5 hours ago. All is not as it seems with the college football playoff negotiations. We'll lead the show with some new smoke tonight. So he has his show. This is the 25th. So that was today. I don't know when his show is at. When is his show at here? I don't know. Can someone tell me when does he usually start a show at? I have no idea. Sometime tonight, Josh Pate, I think it's Sunday night. All is not as it seems with the negotiations. So, so if somebody's watching his show tonight, let me know. I don't know if I'll be able to watch it. I normally don't. I think I've watched a couple of his shows. Give me a post on X. Let me know what he is saying. I guess I'm going to try to. I don't know what time it's at. So if someone figures out the time of the show, put it in the chat room. Now, the smoke that I got was earlier today, early in the morning. Pretty interesting. I got a feeling that he might have the same smoke. We shall see.
Call from
Replica.
Thanks for calling again, my friend. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, how you doing? I just wanted to talk about the playoff format and just the latest updates that are going on.
Yeah.
It seems that there's some public negotiation going on with this push for AQ bids, and I get it. They want to protect the brands and the viewership, but I agree with Immaculate. I think that would do long-term damage to the regular season, which builds up the viewership throughout the season for the playoff or the championship. And I don't see that being able to pass, especially with Sankey. Until I hear Sankey say, I'm okay with having AQ bids for his conference in the Big Ten, I don't see that happening because that doesn't benefit the SEC to just limit yourself to 4. You have the strongest brands with the most money, the most success. They recruit the best. It doesn't make sense for them to go along with that, even though the Big Ten has like more viewership. It just doesn't make sense. I think 14 would be best, and I would have this format, and I'm interested to see what people would think. 14-team playoff, the top 2 teams get a bye, not necessarily tied to conference, because you may have upsets in a conference championship game where a lower seed in the Big Ten, the SEC, even the Big 12 would upset a higher seed. So would you really have a 3 or 4 loss team, like let's say Iowa last year? If they had won the Big Ten championship game, did they deserve to be in the playoff as one of the 4 best teams when they hadn't really shown that level throughout the season? I don't see that happening.
If you win the championship game, it's
you could get into the. I'm saying in this new format you would get into the playoffs, but under the 4-team format, that wouldn't necessarily grant them a spot in that 4-teamer.
True.
And let's be honest. How often on a year-to-year basis is the 15th or the 16th best team even good enough to compete for a national championship? Most years, that's never going to be the case. So I would just have 4 AQ bids, 1 for the conference championship that protects that investment, the money that they generate from the conference championship games. It will give every conference more attention because you're watching the race. There's nothing guaranteed, and that's kind of the essence of the regular season. It's like if you make one mistake, you lose one game, you could lose everything. That's what college football is about. So I would just have those top 2 get a bye because there has to be some kind of incentive for being the best team, especially if most likely that's going to be the Big Ten or the SEC. I would have the first 2 rounds be home games, and then the semifinals and championships, you would rotate between the New Year's 6. And I know there's a contractual issue with that, but we have to stop treating these bowl games like they're bigger than the sport. Because they're not. Like, the sport has evolved. So I would have just the 4 AQ bids, 1 for the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, and the G5 champion. Because I think once the ACC gets gutted, they're not going to be considered a power conference. And that doesn't have to be a unanimous decision going forward for them to be not recognized that way. So I think they will be treated like a G5. And for the G5 specifically, I think there should be a play-in game. So why not just limit one G5 just based off of an opinion or a ranking, put the 2 highest rated G5 champions, let them play a week before the playoffs. That gives them their own stage. That gives them a chance to promote themselves. And it also gives them a chance to assess and see, hey, is this new look G5 going forward without a UCF, a Cincinnati, a Houston team? So we've seen punch above their weight in years past. They joined power conference. We haven't seen any evidence that the rest of the G5s can compete on that level. So, and the networks really don't want them involved anyway, but there's a lot of issues as far as excluding them. So I think that would be fair, get them the most chance for exposure, to make money, have a stage, and I'm curious to see what people would think. So 4 AQs, top 2 get a bye, and let's play it out on the field because the 4th, 5th, 6th best Big Ten team probably shouldn't be competing for a national championship if they can't beat the best teams in that conference. The same as the SEC and Big 12. So curious to hear people's thoughts.
All right, beautiful. I can tell you in the chat they love your playing game for the top 2 G5 schools. They love that idea.
I mean, it works for the NCAA tournament. Look at the first 4, and we've seen teams. I believe it was Wichita State. They went from the first 4 to the final 4, and then the next year they went undefeated in the regular season. Look at the exposure they got for that.
Got it. Great call, Replica. Fantastic. Call again, sir.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.
You got it, man. Well, since you're going to have one playing game, why not have 4 playing games? Right? Right? Have your 15th, 16th, and 17th and 8th. No, that would be 2 playing games. I don't know. It's getting too complicated. It's getting too. But yeah, that's an interesting idea, Replica. Very interesting idea. So people are telling me that Josh Pate is on at 7 o'clock Eastern. I mean, no. What time was it again? 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, or something like that. Okay, so keep your head on a swivel. Let me know on X, formerly known as Twitter, what Josh Pate says. I'm going to be very interested to see if he's got the same smoke, that this is ultimately going to be 16, and we're going in that direction. We're going in that direction. But someone did, Larry GM did rectify my horrific math. 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten, 2 Big 12, 2 ACC, 1 G5. That is 13 out of bid. So only 3 at large. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Immaculate likes the G5 playing game. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Phone lines are open, 763-260-1333. If you're new to the channel, or if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button, smash the like button if you like our content. And please share the video with your family and your friends. I do appreciate you all coming in on a Sunday late afternoon PATC live show. Again, we'll get back to what we were talking about here at the beginning of the show. The very beginning of the show, we did our rankings. We did our Pac 12, Big 12 quarterback rankings. Number 16, Reslov, the BYU. He's in a quarterback one position battle. Bohannon, Juco, transferred from Riverside City College, played a little bit last year. Jaden Rashada, number 15, number 6 in the 2023 class, but he missed 9 games last year. So basically, he's coming in as a true freshman. Number 14 for 2024, Big 12, Josh Hoover, TCU. He did throw for 300 yards, 4 straight games. He was not quarterback one at the beginning of the year. Donovan Smith, a little bit too many turnovers. New head coach. We'll see what happens. Willie Fritz. Alan Bowman, 7th year. Battled injuries. Had 14 interceptions last year. Number 13. A lot of people in the chat says Morton is going to surprise people this year. Texas Tech Red Raider, number 11 ranked in the quarterback 2021 class. Passed for 3 touchdowns in the Independence Bowl win. Left a good taste in a lot of Red Raiders' mouths after the Independence game. Brendan Sorsby, Cincinnati, 1,500 yards passing, 276 yards rushing. KJ Jefferson has played 44 games with the Razorbacks. Almost 8,000 yards passing. Almost 2,000 yards rushing. My question is there another level that KJ Jefferson can get to with Gus Malzahn, number 8 ranked? Daquan Finn, Baylor. Dynamic runner at Toledo. But then he combined that with 63.4% completion percentage, 8.4 yards pass per attempt, both highs in his college career at Toledo. He's getting better and better and better. Now he's stepping up in competition, going into the Big 12, Waco, Texas, Baylor, Bears, Holy smokes, I cannot wait to see what Finn does at Baylor. Rocco Bet. The Cyclones. He's done too much. He did too good last year to have him ranked any lower than number 7. Maybe he should be a little higher. 2023 season, over 3,000 passing yards, 23 passing TDs. Number 6, Avery Johnson. Impressive in the Pop-Tart Bowl win. Number 9 ranked quarterback in 2023 high school. I have him ranked higher than Rashada because Avery Johnson was so very impressive at the end of the year. Rashada, again, we'll see. This is only for 2024. What my expectations are for every quarterback listed. Garrett Green, West Virginia, 2,400 yards passing. Another 772 yards rushing. He's going to have to pick up his completion percentage. Shedeur Sanders, Colorado, 3,200 yards against a porous O-line, 27 TDs. New offensive coordinator, Pat Schumer. Noah Fafita, Arizona, number 3. Mr. Electricity. He lost his head coach. Freshman season, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And then number 2, Cameron Rising, missed all of last year. Threw for 3,034 yards passing, 26 touchdowns. And number 1 in the Big 12 quarterbacks, PATC rankings, Jalen Daniels, Kansas. Again, he only played 3 games last year, and he's losing his offensive coordinator, Andy Kolnicki, but you know who he's got back. Jalen Daniels. Jalen Daniels has got back his head coach. Leipold. So we shall see. Let me know how I got it wrong all again. Mr. Monkey says Rock Chalk. Fafita. When do the G5 schools try to assemble? I think probably in the next 2 or 3 years, Jan. We know that Washington State and Oregon State are going to be creating some sort of conference. They're going to be labeling it probably the PAC-8, the PAC-10. They're probably going to take, I don't know. Some of the Mountain West schools, are they going to take them all? Are they only going to take 6? Are they going to take 4 and take a couple of the top AAC schools? That is the tip of the spear when it comes to G5 realignment, is what does Washington State and Oregon State do? That is the tip of the spears. Hummus Hero, Daniels is really good. Can he stay healthy? Can he keep that back healthy? The Big Lubbock is happy. He thinks I'm Greg the Cooler. I'm really Greg the Heater now.
Call from
JD.
JD, Mr. Seminole is on the line. How you doing, sir? How's your Sunday?
Going good. I'm actually working today.
Ooh.
When you work for yourself, you don't have one boss, you have many. So it's just the way.
Yeah.
But I was listening to your show. I was getting ready to wrap up, and I thought I would chime in. I disagree with some on. I like the 16-team playoff. I just do. I think it's going to help us move forward. It's going to alleviate a few issues. Will there be some bumps in the road? Yes. I could see why Petiti is so adamant about the 4 auto bids. Remember how we've talked in the past that the SEC gets favoritism in the polls? Well, it's not in the algorithms, it's in the voting. Okay? There's a lot of SEC teams that get a benefit of the doubt when they may not necessarily deserve it, but they did well in the conference, so everybody just assumes that this team's just better because they're in the SEC, and that's not necessarily the case. This alleviates that issue. Now, the SEC might still get a couple of the at-large, but you're still going to get good representation from the Big Ten. Now, has the SEC been the better conference? Yes, they have. But have there definitely been teams that got a lot more nods just because of their association? And I think that alleviates part of the issue. And I think they can tweak it. I'm hoping that they have an opportunity to tweak some things if they need to over the next few years. But and I could see everybody's getting a little bit realignment weary. Mm-hmm. Are you? I know I am.
Yep. That's why we talked Big 12 quarterback rankings today. We're getting into the football talk. Yep.
Yes, sir. And don't get me wrong. I appreciate everybody talking about FSU and everything else. We're just ready to get this over with and talk about, football seasons and everything else. And I can understand that these college football commissioners and universities, granted, they're trying to gain more, power, and they're trying to set themselves up to get their share of what you call the gold rush in 2026, make sure that their share is secured. But they also want this to get done because they have to be working a feverish schedule behind the scenes dealing with all these issues. And, but your previous caller, he and I agree with what he said. We kind of floated around the idea that the G5s are going to have a playoff regardless. Because if you're going to get one or two bids from the G5, they have to figure out who those teams are. And they're not going to want to just do it on the polls. And so I would assume that they're going to have some type of some type of a play-in scenario, maybe not just one or two. If they end up getting two auto bids, which I'm not certain they will, they'll have to have some method to crown that champion so that they get into the playoffs. So, and that's just more. I'm not a big bettor, but that's just more for people to bet on. I mean, and when you have a playoff game at stake, doesn't matter if it's a MAC team versus a Southern. I don't even know all the different conferences now. I was thinking Southern, but I think that's a
Sun
Division
Belt,
II.
Sun Belt,
yeah, there
MAC,
you go.
Mountain West, Conference USA.
And there you go. That's 2 million. 2 or 3 million people are going to watch that game because there's a playoff game at stake.
Mm-hmm.
There's just more money to make, and that's the thing. The networks want to seize on the opportunity. There's no owners. Like the NFL has its own league. The networks are trying to become the owners of college football, which essentially they are. But they've never, college football has never fully maximized their earning potential. And that's what this is. Is some of the pageantry going away? Yeah, it is. But when these two massive media contracts were created, but for the SEC and the Big Ten, this had to happen. Otherwise, it was going to be nothing but the SEC and the Big Ten forever. You had to get more. Granted, don't get me wrong. The SEC and Big Ten are still going to make even more money. But eventually, people were going to get tired of watching Alabama and Georgia or Alabama and Ohio State in the national championship game every single year. And they may end up being in the national championship game most years, Ohio State and Georgia. But there's going to be a lot of games leading up to that. There's going to be even more participation. So when the P2 was created, the larger playoff was inevitable. But that's just my take on it. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're gonna now. I've said this before in the past, and I've been wrong, but I think we're going to find out quick how this shapes out because it has to be done quickly. This has to get done. This isn't like the situation where they're trying to figure out the format for the 5+7, 6+6. Everything else was figured out in the background, but they needed to figure out that format for 24. They really need to get this figured out for 2026 quickly. So I think whatever format greases the skids the most is the one that they're going to settle on to get everyone to buy in quickly and then get everything else figured out. And I know 14 team is the chalk, but we've been told that 16 team is going to close in on late, and we'll see what wins out. In regards to the auto bids, I've also been told, and I put it into our very last, the last one we did with our early Pete Cloak and Dagger episodes, we discussed how serious it is that the Big Ten and especially the Big Ten, they're going after these auto bids. That is a serious deal that they're going for. It's not so much a negotiation point like I thought it was at first. No, this is what they want. This is what their media partners want. So we're going to find out soon, JD. Either way, or it could be something we've not even talked about on this PATC. But whatever it turns out to be, it's going to turn out to be pretty quickly here.
Well, I think the auto bids for the P2 is, I'm going to assume, is non-negotiable because for so many factors, some that we've already discussed, and then there's others. We all know the networks are pushing all this behind the scenes. So, are Sankey and Petiti autonomous? Are the networks just pulling the strings from those two? No, but they've got at least a 50% influence in what those two individuals do. I mean, let's just, let's not. Now, ESPN has complete control over Jim Phillips. I mean, Jim. Well, I'm just not even going to go there. I don't have a lot. I think Yarmark has a lot more control, but he's still at the mercy of the positioning of his conference. Mm-hmm. But he's one of those that it seems like he goes to work every day with boxing gloves on, and he's ready to fight. But there's sometimes that you're fighting, and there's sometimes you don't come out of the corner. It's just you pick your spots. But all of this, everything, all of this moving around is the networks trying to create better matchups. They look at the NFL, and the NFL is just regular season games getting 20 and 30 viewers. And then they're like, this Georgia or this Ohio State game got 5 or 6 million. And they're like, no, we need to get these up around, 10 million, 12 million. We need to get all this up. And that's one thing for creating these super leagues. That way they can control matchups. They can control, they can get the viewership higher. And that's the whole reason they're doing all this. And so that, I think the playoff was necessary. The chase for the playoff is going to increase viewership because I think you're going to start getting some NFL folks bleeding over. There's a lot of NFL, people that watch NFL games that watch college as well, but I know a lot of folks that are NFL fans that I'll mention a team to them and they have, a national team, and they have no idea who I'm talking about. And so anyway, I'm gonna close it off. I'm rambling again.
You got it. Thank you, JD. Appreciate it.
Have a great night. Yep. Thanks.
Now, the next big date I think we're waiting for, I'm sure something's going to happen before that, but it's March 22nd, right? When it comes to Florida State versus the ACC. March 22nd, aren't we going to get some sort of, isn't that the date in Mecklenburg County? I could be wrong. Let me know in the chat. Something's happening on March 22nd. where the lawyers that are representing Florida State and the lawyers representing ACC are going to get up in front of the court. I think it's Mecklenburg County, right? Judge Cooper? Let me put that up on the screen here. No, that's not it. That's not it. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's March 22nd. So that's the next, yes, Josie, March 22nd. So, but we'll probably hear something from both sides before that date, creating leverage. And who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe there will be some sort of mediation, some negotiations between the two sides before that magical date of March 22nd. And again, I want to remind everybody, I was pointing out during the middle of the show about a Josh Pate tweet that came out. This was over 5 hours ago. So I appreciate the person who pointed this out to me. All is not as it seems with the playoff negotiations. We'll lead the show with some new smoke tonight. We put out new smoke. I didn't call it smoke. I called it steam. If I would have seen this tweet, I would have stolen Josh Pate and I would have said, we got smoke too. But our steam is we've got a Big Ten administrator who believes ultimately this is going to 16. It's probably what's going to be easiest for everybody to get to get behind. And one of his points is that these top-rated school in the country, whoever ends up number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, they would love a home campus game, first round. Bring in the money, bring in the fans, bring in the sponsors, bring in all that extra value to have that first round game at campus. Why is it 5, 6, 7, and 8 getting the home campus game and not 1, 2, 3, 4? There's a lot of reasons why it seems like the playoffs of 16 teams, and it's going to be easier for other people outside the SEC and the Big Ten to digest the 4 auto bids. And again, just remember, whatever is going on in behind the curtain when it comes to the negotiations with the commissioners, Notre Dame, about whatever the playoffs is going to look like, this is all happening under the perception that the ACC is going to implode and lose some of their top brands, and where the SEC and the Big Ten and potentially the Big 12 are going to grow even more in number, more in value, and you want the playoffs to be able to give back value to those conferences that are becoming bigger in number and value and power and all that stuff. So keep all that in mind. We're going to be closing up our night show Sunday night. I hope you were entertained. We did our Big 12 quarterback rankings. Jalen Daniels, number 1, Kansas Jayhawk. Rock Chalk Jayhawk, number 1. Cameron Rising, number 2. We had some controversial ones in there. Ones that the people did not agree with in the chat. Avery Johnson, number 6. People think that should have been higher. Jaden Rashada, people think that should have been higher. Brendan Sorsby, Cincinnati, transfer from Indiana. Many people think he should be rated lower. We shall see. We shall see. I cannot wait. We're still months and months away from the college football season starting, but we're only weeks away. In fact, some schools have already started their spring practice, but we are a few weeks away from the big guns starting their spring practices. Hopefully we'll get some spring football games. We'll be doing watch parties here at Peek Around the Corner. And then after the spring practices, the portal's going to open up again. Holy smokes. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner as we cover everything in college football. We go where the story goes. Today, it was about the Big 12 quarterback rankings and some steam that we have received, an update with the college football playoffs. Again, keep your head on a swivel tonight. Watch Josh Pate. Let me know on X what he said, what his smoke was on the college football playoffs. I'm thinking quite possibly it's going to be what I reported to you. I don't know. I do not know. I do not. He doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. I've never talked to him. I don't believe. We shall see. There is some steam going on. Or he calls it smoke. But anyways, before you leave the chat, please hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to our channel and have your notifications on. We could come on live at any time. We could come on late tonight, talk about what Josh Pate said. We could do that. We may do that. Who knows? Keep your head on a swivel. But subscribe to our channel, hit the notifications, have those on, smash the like button, and I appreciate everybody with the donations, the great comments in the chat room, and the great phone calls. Once again, from PATC community. Until next time, from all of us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you,